Hello again, and this is Marky Mark. Welcome to the FrostMaiden, Budget FrostMaiden, Ladder Season 10, which is almost over. If you watch part 1 of the FrostMaiden series, you see that I'm using a Wizendraw large siege bow with a tur rune in it. Now, I guess the most basic options for gear for a FrostMaiden, if you got a higher budget, you would use the rune word ice bow. That's definitely the best. And after that, I feel like you go for a Maiden set. But actually, with the Maiden set, you still can't really handle cold immunes unless, let's say, you're putting all your points into the bow and crossbow tree. You kind of skip getting ice arrow because all that does is bring up the freeze length of your freezing arrow, and it's not a good return based off of each point you add. You know, because there's a penalty in hell for freeze length, and it's actually better to just put on a bunch of charms like this that give cold damage, and probably wear a Raven Frost, which I'm also not even doing that because our resistances are kind of hard to get up high enough that we don't die. But yeah, so if you don't do ice arrow, you could start going into the fire arrow tree. And that's one way to do it if you're using Maiden set. But I think I found that one of the good things about Maiden set is the all resistances. But there are ways around that to get your resistances. We're using a smoke armor, a wisdom crown, a night smoke belt, Natalia's boots, resist rings, laying of hands, nice little passive all resist amulet. So yeah, I feel like if you wanted to do something different than the Maiden set, you could probably just use this bow and kill all the cold immunes with the cold sunder in this bow, and then just kind of focus on getting better gear than what I have, and then you ain't got to invest all those additional points into the fire skills. Because if you look at the bow, this one's not even perfect, but I forget what the range is on the minus enemy cold resistance, but this one's 32. I think it goes up to like 35 or 40, probably like 35. So that's a nice little chunk after you break their immunity. And you know, you also have your mercenary that can support you. So I guess, and by the way, we're playing on Nintendo Switch, which is a max of 4 players. So even with 4 players in the game, you're not nearly as hard as an 8-player game. It's also a lot harder to get gear on Nintendo Switch, and you can't really trade as well because the player base is smaller. But let's say you're just playing with 3 of your friends, having a nice little freezing arrow Amazon to freeze all the enemies definitely helps your team. And with the wisdom, we have 100% piercing attack. So let's say you shoot an arrow, it pierces through 5 enemies that are close together. You'll get 5 freezing arrow explosions, and if they're all close enough together, they'll all be hit by every single one. And even though freezing arrow, we have no skill bonuses, maxed out, it still does 1,000 damage if you max the cold arrow synergy. So let's say you just pierce and hit 5 targets that are all close together. That's like 5,000 damage, which isn't bad, barring whatever the monster's resistances are. So I guess the purpose of this video is just to show you a way to build a budget freezing arrow Amazon, aka FrostMaiden. And yeah, we're just soloing a lot. Like with this build, you can solo when you're not playing with your friends. And yeah, like just putting this information out there, maybe someone will see it and be like, hey, I'd like to try that. But otherwise, I just mostly just enjoy making these videos because it kind of adds a new layer to the game, adding my own commentary and just kind of making a video. It gives me something to play for. Like, I spent all this time doing the Act 2 quests. We're at the tombs now. All I gotta do is go in the triangle tomb and clear that and kill Duriel. And it kind of gave me a reason to play through just to get to this point where I can shoot this video. It's kind of enjoyable. So even if no one watches the video, that's the information I can provide about how this might be helpful to someone else trying to build something similar. But yeah, let's get started. For the mercenary, I wanted to do a little bit different on the mercenary, so I just made her also into a freezing arrow Amazon. Her freezing arrow only does 750 damage, but she's got a delirium, which is the most expensive item I made this ladder season. It uses an ist rune. Everything else you're pretty much looking at like a limb or a pole rune. Nothing too crazy. She's got a Kuko Shikako bow for the 50% piercing attack. And her regular arrows actually explode and do fire damage, which matters maybe a little bit. And I gave her a hustle armor just so she can run away from the enemies faster. When they close in on her, she can walk away pretty fast and start shooting again. And it's got that 40 increased attack speed. I have found that the confuse actually doesn't really matter that much on her, because freezing the enemies, they're not really fighting each other anyways because they're frozen. But maybe in the later acts, like Act 3, Act 4, Act 5, maybe that'll come in handy. But for right now, I'm going to stick with it because it is a +2 to all skills. And she's got +3 to bow on her bow itself. So her freezing arrow level is only 13. But her cold arrow level is level 30. Not sure how synergies work with that since she's getting skill bonuses. But level 30 cold arrow, that's pretty high, even though it doesn't do much damage. Maybe she's getting the synergy off those extra 5 points, I'm not sure. But yeah, let's get to the video. Or the gameplay, I should say. We need to go in the Triangle Tomb. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do when I get to Act 3. I might not even shoot a video in Act 3 at all, because I have a feeling fighting the High Council members is going to be pretty easy. I'm just going to freeze lock them. And to me, that's the only area in Act 3 that's kind of worth shooting a video for. Everything else is a bunch of flares. Okay, so the confuse actually helped a little bit there because we're in a very large, wide open area. But in some of the more narrower straight line passageways is not actually necessary, I guess. Let's see, this is circle. This was the little half circle thing. Square. I know it's not that one up top, that one's something different. Those Hellcats, by the way, I think are naturally immune to cold, I think. I think that's why they're so hard to kill. But they still go down. There's arrows. And triangle. Don't really have a strategy for Duriel yet. I think I'm just going to have to keep resummoning the... Oh, that was a bit of lag. No mana potions, that sucks. Yeah, so those Unravelers, I think, just have a lot of life. I think that's why they don't die that fast, but... I think you get the idea. Skeletons, though, they go down pretty easy. Oops, I was sloppy. My mercenary died. Oh, well, I need to get more mana potions anyways.
Not enough mana.
Yeah, not doing a whole lot of damage at all to those. Maybe they just have like really high cold resistance. I know those ghoul lords there are immune to cold. And actually, I think Duriel has really high cold resistance too. Yeah, so we might have to do something about that.
Good to see you.
It is an honor to serve you.
Yeah, so even though we can kill cold immunes, yeah, they're still not exactly easy. Like I said, our freezing arrow only does 1,000 damage. So if we're hitting one monster at a time with it, we're not doing a lot of damage at all. We really need those tightly packed groups of monsters to benefit off the piercing attack.
Who goes there?
And I guess if you watched part 1, you got to see that a little bit better. Blocking the doorway. This is a dead end, it looks like. Yep, dead end. I killed the skeletons. And they got frozen, so they're not coming back. We can't sit here all day and kill these guys and refill our mana. But I guess if you just go somewhere else and fight somewhere easier is probably the best thing to do. But we can clear the game, definitely. She died again. Skeletons are a problem.
I am overburdened.
And those Unravelers aren't going to chase me.
I am overburdened.
Yeah, all the other videos I shot, I got really lucky and found the tomb a lot easier. Actually, the one video, I went ahead and found it, and then went straight to it. This video is going to end up being a little bit longer, it looks like. There we go. Found it. No monsters in here either. I don't even know if I have this. I do have the staff in my cube. Alright, well, this is the tough part. As soon as you walk in, Duriel is already fighting you before you can even do anything, which is super lame.
How may I help you?
Super lame. I'm just going to stick this Coal Sunder Charm in my cube, because all that's done is making me not have really high cold resistance, because Duriel is not immune to cold. And we're actually just going to slot some more potions in there.
Ask.
And these healing potions aren't going to do anything because they're way too slow. So, more mana potions. I guess the idea is just to keep resummoning the Valkyrie.
Good day.
And maybe we'll use this lower resist wand. Do I have a lower resist wand? I do. Yeah, I gotta set up the skills for that. Swap weapon. Swap weapon. There it is right there. Yeah. We're gonna try that. Maybe we'll kill him faster. I guess we can do a higher level Valkyrie. Alright, here we go.
Thank you.
Trapped. Crap. And I have no more healing potions in my belt. Alright, let's go back to town. He's almost dead. If my Merc wouldn't have got trapped, that would have went a lot better. Yeah, my Merc got trapped, but every time Duriel closed in on her, that hustle body armor making her walk-run speed go up seemed like she was able to get away pretty easily. And then the Valkyrie started taking the hits, so I wasn't expecting that. But he's almost dead. Whoops. Didn't want to go back to town. I wanted to be a show off and do it without going back to town, but oh well, this is what happened.
Day.
Ran out of... Maybe I should have put the 4 Juvies in my inventory. Because I had extra 4 Juvies I could have stuck down there in my inventory. Hopefully we don't get wrecked when we go back in the portal. Maybe I should heal just to have that extra 100 some life. Yeah, better heal.
Good day.
I knew this was going to be a tough boss fight, but Duriel was pretty easy. Alright, let's get away and resummon. Alright, so one trip back to town, that's not too bad. And yeah, what else do I need to say before I finish out the video? Yeah, maybe I will do a High Council video just to show you that I think they're going to be pretty easy, so maybe I'll just show that to show how easy they are. Even though my Merc and my Valkyrie will die really easy, I still think it's going to be easy. But yeah, this has been the FrostMaiden on a budget on Nintendo Switch Season 10. Thanks for watching.